Liberation greetings to all and sundry, my people of Southern Cameroons, my dear people of Ambazonia. Today is Tuesday, day number 12 of the month of April 2022. My people, today is another very worrisome day. Today is a hurting day. Hurting because some of our people, some Southern Cameroonians, made their end this day. And it was really tragic. Tragic because these are people, people who normally should be with us, struggling with us, doing everything they could to support this movement to have our homeland freed. But unfortunately, these people are working on the side of the government of La République du Cameroon. My people of the Southern Cameroons, they might even have been unoffensive. They might even have been simply good-intentioned people. They might even have just been, taking their march simply to their various destinations, maybe with no intention to hurt, even if they were armed. But unfortunately, the times now, the circumstances now are no longer normal in the Southern Cameroons, not even in La République du Cameroon for that matter. The general mantra across the board today is that you are either with us or you are against us. That is what this whole thing has become. Unfortunately, some of our people continue to be misled by the empty words of the Biya government that the situation is under control. And for that reason, they send family heads. They send innocent young people in harm's way. And these people move, bearing in mind that the situation is under control. Whereas we continue to see by day and by night that there is no situation under control and that no situation will ever be under control until there will be peace talks, until people will sit around a table to discuss the future of the Southern Cameroons. My dear people of Ambazonia, my dear people of Southern Cameroons, it is never a thing of joy to sit and watch young people, the future of the Southern Cameroons, the future of Ambazonia, as well the future of La République du Cameroon, perish to protect the egos of very old people who don't give a damn about our lives. How soon shall we come to that realization that we are locked in a useless battle, in a useless conflict, just to protect the interests of some old people and their colonial overlords in Paris? My dear people of Southern Cameroons, my dear people of Ambazonia, to say the least, I am thoroughly saddened. And I will continue to be until that moment when we are able to stand as a people and say justice has been rendered to the suffering masses of the Southern Cameroons. I've read all kinds of messages on social media, all kinds of messages. But mind you, that stretch of road between Kumbo and Nkambe has generally been locked for a long time. It has not been under use. This means there could be another route that these people will pass through. But the simple fact that they chose this route, and they were not empty, they were with sticks and everything, exposed them as targets. And of course, my dear people of the Southern Cameroons, this is what we continue to decry by day and by night. This is why we have continued to call on the international community to make haste to end this madness, to make haste to come in between the people of the Southern Cameroons and those of La République du Cameroon, and let justice be rendered, and put an end to the occupation of the Southern Cameroons, so that love will reign once more among our people. This picture that I have on the screen is one of the key reasons we have the confusion that we're having across the African continent and also in the Southern Cameroons. No one is oblivious of the fact right now that in the Southern Cameroons, or that in La République du Cameroon, there is a fierce succession battle at the helm going on because of the uncertainty regarding Mr. Paul Biya's health. So, in Congo, Brazzaville, Sassou Nguesso has cut it short by naming his son, Denis Christel Sassou Nguesso, Vice President of the Republic. Of course, that tells what it tells. That in Congo, it is a full-blown monarchy that has been installed. It is the same scenario that has been discussed over and over in La République du Cameroon. And this spills over into Southern Cameroons. Ask me how. Because there are people in the Southern Cameroons today who are ready to auction all of us simply because they have been mentioned in some parlors that they could become vice president and therefore the successor of Mr. Paul Biya. Take a look at this. The man whose face you see on my screen is called Peter Mafane Musonge. When he was prime minister some time ago, they called him Peter Malfini Musonge. What he says, this is a statement he made at the residence of the prime minister and head of government of La République du Cameroon, Joseph John Gute, just a few days back. He said, the Southwest will never be used as a breeding ground for Ambazonia terrorists. Sons and daughters of the Southwest should stick together and thank the head of state for liberating our region from foreign influence. I'd like you to underline foreign influence. Take a look at Mr. Peter Mafane Musonge. Of course, you'll soon see him in the video. Just take a careful look at his face. This is someone whom at the moment we speak is the chairman of the Bilingualism and Multiculturalism Commission, created by Mr. Paul Biya in 2017, purportedly to address the ongoing situation in the Southern Cameroons. And the role of that commission was supposedly to promote living together, to promote love, peace, and concord, to put in the hearts and minds of the people that people are free to live wherever on the national territory. And of course, this will not be the first time that Peter Mafane Musonge is seen spewing xenophobic rhetoric. This will not be the first time. It has happened over and over. And for those who do not know, let me take you back down memory's lane. Peter Mafane Musonge is the single most tribalistic individual in all of Southern Cameroons. In all of Southern Cameroons. Perhaps he even defeats Paul Biya nationwide when you put together, when you involve La République du Cameroun. Peter Mafani Musonge became Prime Minister, head of government in La République du Cameroun in 1995. He took over from the late Simon Achidi Achu. When Peter Mafani Musonge took over as Prime Minister, the first thing he did was he settled down to chase away from the Prime Minister's office all those who were of what they call Northwest Graphi extraction. I mean all, right to the last that he met at the Prime Minister's office. Those that he managed to live there were pushed right to the peripheries. And they were reminded every day, that they did not belong. That was Peter Mafani Musonge. When Peter Mafani Musonge was appointed Prime Minister, head of government, in replacement of Simon Achidi Achu, at the time in 1995, I mean, some of us were preparing to, come away from school, from the training schools where we were. Peter Mafani Musonge. Was it 1995? No, I beg your pardon. That was on the 19th of September, 1997. Thank you for that correction. Someone just shot out to me. That was 1997. Yes. That's when Peter Mafani Musonge became Prime Minister. Peter Mafani Musonge promoted tribalism to a level unimagined ever. What he is doing today is not new. He hasn't changed. When you hear him talk, perhaps you didn't get a full grasp of the statement I just put up. I'll get it back right here so that you try to read again slowly. For those who read slowly and understand the full meaning of this statement. He says the Southwest will never be used as breeding ground for Ambazonia terrorists. That's not even my business. Sons and daughters of the Southwest should stick together and thank the head of state for liberating our region from foreign influence. Is Peter Mafani Musonge here referring to the Bassa people who have taken Pamol, or who have taken, I beg your pardon, Sonara, hostage from creation to this date? I doubt. Is Peter Mafani Musonge referring to the Bulu people who have taken over the entire administration of FACO for decades today? Hell no. Peter Mafani Musonge wouldn't do that. His bone of contention has generally been with other Southern Cameroonians from the grassfield. And that is who he has been. Yours truly did witness the situation with Peter Mafani Musonge live. Because in April of 1999, meaning April of 1999, I was at the Ministry of 1998, yes, in April of 1998. I'm sorry about that. I was at the Ministry of Communication, young graduate from ASMAC, when the then general manager of CRTV, Mendoza, was breaking the stalemate that had existed because of Augustin Concho Kwamenye's influence at the Ministry of Communication. And so there was a stalemate of journalists not being seconded to either CRTV or Cameroon Tribune for almost 5 years. And so the backlog was serious. And of course, staying at the Ministry of Communication was tantamount to almost not being at work, because the pay, the meager pay that people have at the public service. But moving on to the corporation, that CRTV or Cameroon Tribune was like a kind of astronomical promotion, because overnight you could see your pay doubled by 3 or 4. When the gates were therefore open Because La République du Cameroon is what it is, it was a war of influence. Who do you know? So you could find your name on a list. And so, all those who were there, the francophones from the other 8 regions were just like, oh mon Dieu, vous les anglophones, as they referred to us, vous êtes en haut. Parce que vous avez le Premier ministre. Because you have the Prime Minister, everybody is en haut. Make no mistake. Something happened. Peter Mafani Musonge, Prime Minister, head of government, took a sheet of paper he didn't get through a secretary, wrote with ink with his hands, addressed a letter to the Minister of Communication, René Zengele, at the time. With ink, he wrote with ink and said, Monsieur le ministre de la Communication, bien vouloir détacher tous les journalistes anglophones and then du sud-ouest, and he underlined sud-ouest, qui sont dans vos services, soit au ministère, soit à la CATV ou à Cameroon Tribune, selon leur choix. Translation, Mr. Minister of Communication, please do well to send on secondment all English-speaking journalists, or all Anglophone, as he referred to, Anglophone journalists of Southwest extraction, and he underlined Southwest, either to CRTV or to Cameroon Tribune, depending on their choices. Listen, and when this note got to the Ministry of Communication, it fell in the hands of some citizens of La République du Cameroon who were simply shocked, overwhelmed, and even embarrassed. And so, I think one of them was Mvoto Obuno. And so, I think he is today at the National Communications Council. And so they decided to make a photocopy of that handwritten note from Prime Minister Peter Mafani Musonge and drop it carelessly in the hall of the Ministry of Communication. That was their own way of leaking out this information to those of us from what they refer to as the Northwest, so that we know where we stand. It was shocking and embarrassing to them, but it was also fun. And so this sheet of paper was picked up and multiplied. A lot of us had copies all over the place. It was a talk of the place. Shocking. So Peter Mafani Musonge has been an age-old agent of divide and rule. Those who have been talking about his negative influence as far as this liberation movement is concerned are not mistaken. If you don't see his hand in the constant divide and rule that we have in this movement, think again. You need to do some investigation. That is Peter Mafani Musonge. It did not end there. It did not. Again, when Gervais Mendoza of blessed memory decided to create an FM station in Boya called Mount Cameroon FM, because take note, each time that the people of the Southern Cameroons had gone out to protest and ask for anything, we always headquartered it in Boya. We always said, lodge it in Boya. When the fight for the GCE board raged, people asked for the GCE board to be created in Boya. When there was a serious fight for an Anglo-Saxon style university, everyone was asking for it to go to Boya. I mean, every other thing that had been requested, people had talked about Boya. No one had ever thought that no, one should go to Boya, the other one in Bamenda, and all of those things. No. And a lot of these fights have been spearheaded by people from the grass field. But with that nationalist thought, always. So when there was a call on Mendoza to create an FM station, Anglo-Saxon style mostly, the call again was for it to be created in Boya. Not because We feel that there is no space in the grass field where this could be locked. But because we have that feeling of togetherness, we always know that Southern Cameroons was always one. Northwest, Southwest was an Aijo and France's creation to divide us. But old people like Peter Mafani Musonge are those who are determined to rip us apart until they can divide us no more before the bow. These are people who hate the gods of the Southern Cameroons. So it came to pass that Mount Cameroon FM was created. Of course, it's called Mount Cameroon FM. So it was created in Boya. And so a special recruitment was launched to pick journalists. And they wanted to pick young people, even those that were not trained because they were going to be trained. Of course, there was a demand, therefore, to recruit 26 Anglo-Saxons, young people, for that station. This recruitment was handed over, the charge was handed over to Bekin Dive by Gervais Mendoza, because she was then station manager of CRTV Boya. And Bekin Dive was the key instrument in the hand of Peter Mafani Musonge. For that selection, if your name did not contain Namondo, Epie, Ngome, Agbo, Bekin Dive stood against it. And at the end of the day, she even openly told some people that she had strict instructions from the Prime Minister to make Mount Cameroon FM a Southwest affair. And she told the other people, go and wait for the creation of Abakwa FM. So it came to pass, therefore, that people like George Esunge Fomunyen succeeded in that particular selection because, of course, he had Esunge in his name. That Abel Akara teacher succeeded because somewhere along the line there was a mistake with the name Akara. It was even almost mixed up and there was some thought that, and there were two other people ladies who simply expressed that they succeeded in the selection because they had the intervention of Chris Eno Oben, who, had other kinds of relations with them. That is how they found themselves on that list. There were 4 maximum. So my people of the Southern Cameroons, I'm recalling this, recounting this, just so we know what we are up against. The forces of division are not only external, they are also internal. And we must continue to stand up to these forces of division that are not only age-old, there are younger people. There are people even in the younger generation who are being blown, who are being pumped to continue to spread this divide. Because as I said before, La République du Cameroun counts only on divide and rule henceforth. They know that every other approach they have used has failed. They know that their thoughts that they were going to annihilate us within weeks have failed. They know that presently they don't have what it takes to continue to keep the Southern Cameroon under colonial rule. They are aware. The only thing they are counting on is division. And so the next big thing in town is the position of vice president. That is up for the grabs. The last time when I showed images here of almost all the newspapers saying it will be Philemon Yang, it will be Philemon Yang, it will be Philemon Yang, I said, whenever you see this, I think I started even from when they said it was going to be Ngongo. I said, take note. Each time you see this thing out, know the detractors of the person whose image you are seeing are behind that news article. If you doubt, read Le Code Bia. That was written by a certain French journalist. Because they know that if you reveal it, and Bia likes secrecy, he likes surprise, if you reveal it, he will knock out this person. And so the battle is on. Make no mistake. There's going to be a lot of money spread out for serious infighting, just because each one of them Peter Mafani Musongo on the one hand, young Philemon on the other, will want to prove to Mr. Paul Biya that I am the one that has fought greatest, or that's fighting greatest, to keep our people under enslavement for life. Of course, we saw already what young Philemon did in Oku by sending out money, using money to engineer innocent civilians to put themselves in harm's way that were protesting against Amba. We all saw that. And as if that was not enough, therefore, the Southwest Clan had to organize its own show. Here we go.
Dis-moi avec qui tu dînes ce soir, je te dicterai le menu. Retrouvailles et convivialité étaient servis en apéro à la résidence du lac. À la table du Premier ministre chef du gouvernement Joseph Diane-Goté, 46 couverts, autant de convives, parlementaires et membres du gouvernement. Parmi les présences significatives, l'ancien Premier ministre Peter Mafani Musonge, la vice-présidente de l'Assemblée nationale.
Cette atmosphère créée par le chef de l'État qui a donné une opportunité pour un de nos fils, le docteur Chief Dion Ngute, pour être Premier ministre chef du gouvernement. Nous sommes très contents. Nous avons un privilège d'entrer dans le résident officiel, de communiquer ensemble, de discuter des choses qui sont devant nous, notamment question de l'insécurité au sud-ouest et nord-ouest.
2 plats de résistance ont été servis à tous les invités et ont nourri les échanges. Le retour à une paix durable et définitive dans le sud-ouest et le bilan des appuis multiformes que le gouvernement apporte à travers les initiatives présidentielles visant à ramener la paix et à relancer les activités économiques génératrices de revenus dans la région. De 19h à 22h, soit 3 heures de convivialité, de fraternité et de partage, suffisant pour lever le verre à la santé, à la paix et à la prospérité de retour dans le sud-ouest. Dis-moi avec qui tu...
So here, we have IDPs, because these are all IDPs. We have IDPs from all parts of La République gathered here. I mean IDPs, because none of these people is resident in the Southern Cameroons. None of them will enter in the Southern Cameroons today without being in one of those moving coffins that we know. And today, their trips are even totally reduced because they've realized that even those things that they were entering in before the formula has been found. So these are all IDPs. I mean IDPs. They go sit idly at the Prime Minister's residence at the lakeside in Yaoundé and say they're sitting to celebrate the return of peace. How many days ago is it that the divisional officer of Ekondo Titi and some people, I saw some coffins moving to the place a few days ago, to Ekondo Titi. How many days ago? Listen, my people of the Southern Cameroons. This delusion has simply one objective. Try and present a face and tell Paul Biya, look, for that position of vice president, because Mr. Paul Biya decided finally to hold the law project close to his chest after a lot of the information contained therein was revealed. So he took back the joker, has held it close to his chest, and is waiting. And for that reason, for those who have read the very interesting novel, Gulliver's Travel, and you remember Gulliver's trip to Lilliput, you will think of the rope dance. That's exactly what these politicians are on right now. This is the beginning. You are going to be seeing more. Some of them will even hazard missions into places they have never attempted before, by all means, because of this particular fight of post of vice president. That is why you can hear Peter Mafani Musonge, who by the position he occupies is supposed to be talking, getting together, using that kind of horrible language. That is why you hear this. And that is why my people of the Southern Cameroons, I take this opportunity again to remind us that the future of our freedom, the future of our independence lies squarely in our hands. Nobody will do it for us. The older generation are permanently against us. Even within our struggle, those who are promoting division the most, those who have the most bias of judgment, are the older generation in this struggle. I mean, in this struggle, in this movement for liberation. Just today, I had the occasion to shut down 2 of them. These are people who by their training, who by their education, who by their exposure should differentiate propaganda, manipulation, divisive literature from what is supposed to unite us, because it is synergy we need to cross the finish line. But unfortunately, these people are rather promoters of this division. These people, what comes out of their mouths, what they write, what they text, what they share, will embarrass you. The older generation in the situation of the Southern Cameroons have generally, I hate to say so, been a curse to our quest. Because where a good lot of them are seated, we have expected them to come out of their shelves to try and unite the younger people and strengthen us to work towards freeing our homeland. Hell no. They have become the vectors, or they have remained the vectors of division in our midst. My message is to the never again generation. If you don't rise to take your own destiny into your hands, sorry, we will be in this movement for a long time before we get to the finish line. And those paying the price are us. Let me say this. I say those paying the price are us. More us than them. Look at this. Do the right thing, even when no one is watching. This is what is called integrity. I'm calling on all of us Southern Cameroonians, all of us Ambazonians. Let us all rise and try to break all the vestiges of division that continue to destroy our movement. The rhetoric I read following the incident between Bui and Dongamantu is extremely uninteresting. To imagine that old people who should know the meaning of sacrifice will sit in their armchairs and forward literature calling our brother No Pity a B contractor for La République du Cameroun is not only embarrassing, it is despicable. It is shameful. I say it is shameful. Let us learn how to be ashamed. How many of us have bounties over their heads for just 10 million? I mean 10 million in CFA. Our brother has a bounty of 200 million CFA on his head. In dollar, that is 400,000. That's close to 400,000 on his head. Yet you sit and you profane such thoughts. His entire family is in detention. Even his former girlfriend, who had baby just 2 months old, is in detention. This is a gentleman who has not only been making a noise like some, he acted, we all watch his exploits. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, not 5. And you dare sit in the comfort of your room simply because he has said, I don't want to pay allegiance to any strong man. I want to pay allegiance to the flag. You now have the guts to sit and send out rubbish, calling such a hero a B contractor. La République du Cameroun is looking for him. You too now are after him. Whose savior is he finally? Are we different from those that our Lord Jesus Christ was fighting for? And yet who stood and screamed, away, away, away with him, crucify him? Are we different? My people of the Southern Cameroons, let us learn to be ashamed. Let us learn once more to be ashamed. I fear some of us have lost our senses because of greed. And when all this is done, you will say you are doing it in the name of a leader. When all is said and done, you will say you are doing it to protect or to promote some leader. If that one were a leader, if whoever is concerned were a leader, that leader will know better than drive hatred towards someone who is the engine and who could become the catalyst of that freedom that we are seeking. That's why I agree with Simon Sinek that the role of a leader is not to come up with all the great ideas. The role of a leader is to create an environment in which great ideas can happen. Create an environment in which great ideas can happen. Not an environment in which division will thrive. Not an environment in which hatred will thrive. Not an environment where witch hunting will be the order of the day. No, that has got nothing to do with leadership. I would rather call that gangsterism. I want to actually, within the framework of this broadcast, recognize some leaders, recognize people who have demonstrated leadership, who have come out of their shelf. And this is not the first time that they have done so. These are the clergy in the great state of Ngokutunjia. You must have seen this letter that is dated March 15, but we are seeing it today, about a month later, March 15. It is from the Office of the Ecumenical Movement for Christian Unity in Bamoka and Dom. And it is addressed to the Senior Divisional Officer in Ngokutunjia. This is one of the most fearless, courageous, direct, and bold letters that I have seen yet from anyone based on the territory. These are people rising to the occasion to show leadership. Because in Dop, there is a gentleman called Bakari. He is of La République du Cameroon's colonial occupational force on our land. Bakari says the power of life and death has been handed into his hands. Bakari says in Ngokutunjia, after God, it is him. Because Bakari tells off even the senior divisional officer, Kwetong Anderson Konge. Because while Kwetong Anderson Konge is busy terrorizing teachers, causing salaries of hundreds of teachers to be cut, when he himself cannot move out there boldly and freely, Bakari is making sure every Monday that God has created, he raises down at least 15 homes and business places of people in Dom. He does not only do that. Every week, he takes down at least 15 of our young people. And Bakari says this, and I quote, Bakari says he has been licensed by Yaoundé. He takes his instructions only from Yaoundé. And he has been licensed by Yaoundé to enforce a policy that La République would only defeat the Southern Cameroons by taking out all young men in the community. And so for that reason, he has given himself the assignment to take out at least 15 every week. I mean every week. And he does that in Dop systematically every week. Every Monday, Bakari goes out, burns down to dust, raises to dust at least 15 to 25 homes, business places and stores along. Simple reason that the people have refused to open their shops on Mondays. that they continue to respect the ghost towns. Why all this is happening? Dinga Ignatius Banyin, who comes from Gokutundia, Mingo Paul Gogomo, who comes from Gokutundia, Ufi Chinje Melo, who is married in Gokutundia, somebody they call Fonzofwa Ndofwa, who is from Gokutundia, is in France making useless speeches. Why all this is happening? None of them is raising the little finger. Not even Bangmi Emmanuel says it's in parliament. None of them is raising the little finger. Are they saying they are powerless, or simply they are saying they are accomplices, or they are saying that they are promoters of this policy against the same people they claim to be their people? There is another one there calling himself Musa. The other name is even getting off my mind. That is a member of parliament from Bamali. It is embarrassing. Very, very embarrassing that such should be happening. And because they stayed quiet consistently, that is why the clergy took the challenge. And right now, I'm going to do part of a rendition of this letter. Just put it back there so you see. They say the subject matter of this letter addressed to the senior divisional officer, and of course, I'm sure a good lot of us have seen this already circulating on social media. If you've not seen it, I'm going to send it out in several forums and put it on Facebook. Pick it, tweet it, send it to all kinds of offices across the world. This is very important, very, very important for our people. It reads, "We the Christians of the above mentioned movement," that is the movement for Christians unity in Bamunka and Dop, "under the canopy of our priests and pastors, wish to bring to your notice the tense atmosphere in which the population of Ndop, our Christians inclusive, have been living in a couple of months, characterized by random killings and street display of corpses that sometimes take more than 2 days in hot sun and rain before being disposed of, and the setting ablaze of people's homes, business items, and structures for failing to open their businesses on some days of the week by the forces of law and order deployed in Ndop." They are clear. They're not saying by unidentified men, no. They say by the forces of law and order deployed in Ndop. This is an official correspondence with the people's names and signatures. It's not anonymous. That's why I say tweet it. Tweet, and share as much as possible. Take it to all the offices in the world that you can. I know that sometimes they don't care, but some good Samaritans somewhere may begin to take some kind of action. The correspondence goes on. "The display of human corpses that take days before disposal is dehumanizing, undignifying, and traumatizing to our population, and exposes the entire population to dangerous and untold health hazards. Our population is living in constant threat and tension, even from the forces of law and order, whom we felt are with us to protect lives and properties." Did you hear that? That is the mirage, the deception that they are here to protect you, but they are not sent to protect you. I hope this message sinks well in the hearts and minds of those people in Elak and Ibal Oku. I hope it sinks. I hope this message sinks well in the hearts and minds of those people in Balangi, in Meme. Get this message clearly. And I hope this message sinks in the hearts and minds of those IDPs calling themselves elite who were gathered at the residence of Joseph John Gute. He says, "Our population," no, he says, "Sir, as an ecumenical movement that advocates for justice and peace and the respect for human values, we cannot remain indifferent when the sacredness of human life is violated in an undignifying manner, when people are recklessly killed and corpses displayed in our streets for days, to the discontentment of bypassers, especially children. Equally, the setting ablaze of homes, business items, and business structures of an already impoverished people by the forces of law and order Listen, again, they are specific. They have not said anywhere that by ambas, no. By the forces of law and order, as a result of the ongoing armed conflict in the Northwest and Southwest regions, can only make a bad situation worse. Of course, the anxiety is to make our people more and more destitute, to impoverish our people to the limit, so that when they come around, like Yang did, with 2,000 francs, with 1,000 francs, with 3,000 bottles of beer and sardine, with bread, they should go out and say we're marching against Amber. That is why they are raising down all the businesses, everything. And this is the job of one man called Bakari from the north of La République du Cameroun. And they continue. We therefore decry in strong terms and lament the state of anarchy reigning in our town of Ndop that is causing untold suffering and misery on the population, our Christians inclusive, and urge you to use the powers. I don't know what powers he still has, that SDO. To use the powers bestowed on your office to take prompt measures that should arrest the deplorable state of living in Ndop. We count on your prompt action that should bring a sigh of relief to our suffering population. And this is signed by Reverend Father Michael Moore, who is a parish priest of the St. Peter and Paul parish in Bamoka and Ndop, and Reverend Philip, the other name is a bit missing, the parish pastor of the Presbyterian Church in Bamonka, Ndop. Okay, I think it's Achwanye Philip. I don't see the name very, very carefully. Of course, this letter was copied to the Archbishop of Bamenda, the moderator of the Presbyterian Church in Cameroon, and the governor, the colonial governor in Bamenda, Adolphe Lili Lafrique de Benchofo. My people, why do I bring this? Because when you get these official demonstrations from the church, that in most places has remained mute, this is to let us all know that the situation is getting worse by the day. The more reason we must get up to do the heavyweight lifting. Rather than setting our brave hearts one against the other to obtain the results that we obtain in Kumbo, let us stop this. I hear already that another one is being called. I think they call him, is it Talk and Do, to come up again and start do exactly what they had mounted in Sobu to do. That before long we will hear another skirmish, and before long we'll be writing RIP again while sitting in our homes in the diaspora. My people of the Southern Cameroons, let us learn how to be ashamed. These boys and girls deserve our support, not our hatred. These boys and girls deserve our support, not division, not setting them one against the other. These boys and girls are determined to help us see a new country, a free land that we can call home. They deserve our support, not our malice. And this, I'm addressing myself to the old generation. What do you plan that you want to leave behind? What will we call your legacy in our liberation movement? Hatred, division, malice, deliberate manipulation? Rise to the occasion. In Africa, we know that age is wisdom. I fear in Ambazonia, we are having a different definition. Rise to the occasion. Fear God, have shame, and desist from doing that which you are doing today. These children are all your children. Stop taking sides. Struggle to bring your children together in love and concord and teach them how togetherness means strength. Otherwise, the history books will reserve for you the cruelest pages imaginable. To God be the glory.